Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and this vehicle has a little bit of an identity crisis. This is the 2023 Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer, not a Jeep. And in this video, I'm going to show you what makes this a true Escalade fighter and talk more about that identity crisis we're having here. Stay tuned. All right, gearheads, before we get too far into this one, I do want to thank Wagoneer, I believe, for bringing this vehicle to me to test for a full week for you here on the channel. Not only will we be doing this deep dive into all the features inside, we'll also be doing a family review, showing you what Holly and Tucker think of the inside, how this works for a family with full child seat installation in the second and third row. We may also be doing a tow test, so be sure and hit that subscribe button down below so that you don't miss any of that. But before we get too far into this one, I do want to talk about what makes this one so special and why I like it so much. And that resides under the hood here with the new twin-turbocharged inline 6 Hurricane engine underneath the hood. For 2023, this is the standard engine, but for $0.00, you can still opt for that 6.4 liter Hemi V8. But this is actually the most powerful option that you can get under the hood of the Grand Wagoneer, and I think it is absolutely spectacular. This one makes a whopping 510 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. This thing is quite powerful, and we'll talk more about it when we're driving, but it has actually been quite the engine to explore around town and do our typical family things in. It is mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and our model is a 4-wheel drive model with Quadra-Drive 2, electronic limited slip rear differential, Selec-Terrain traction management system, and an active 2-speed transfer case. So we can't actually put this in a 2-wheel drive, but that front differential does disconnect when you're cruising down the highway to help with fuel economy. But I really like all the touches under here before we close it. The Wagoneer, born in America, designed and built here in Michigan, and just the look of this twin turbo inline 6. This is the future of big Stellantis products, this Hurricane inline 6. All right, closing the hood, taking a look at the styling, we absolutely had to talk about the whole brand identity crisis of this vehicle. This is technically a Wagoneer Grand Wagoneer, if that makes any sense, because Wagoneer is a sub-brand of Jeep, and Jeep doesn't really want you calling this a Jeep, though they're quite proud to claim it as well. So very interesting, but in the quest to bring the Jeep brand upscale, this thing really is a strong competitor to the Escalades and Navigators of the world. It does get the Jeep 7-slot grille up front and very Jeep-like styling all the way around. This really does look like a Grand Cherokee on steroids. This thing is big and massive. The Grand Wagoneer gets the word Wagoneer spelled out across the grille up here. So again, Wagoneer is the brand, even though it is a sub-brand, and Grand Wagoneer is the model. So again, this is a Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer. Quite the mouthful. We do get full LED lighting up front, from those sequential turn signals to the headlights to those tri-beam fog lights that do help with cornering at night. This is a very attractive front end. I do like how Jeep Wagoneer haven't just gone overly stylized with this. They have kept it fairly simple. Again, your iconic 7-slot grille there, Wagoneer spelled out across the hood, and just some nice touches. We do have some pretty beefy and massive tow hooks up here. Right here is your front night vision camera that can be run in the daylight or really at any time. Competition from Cadillac only allows you to do that at nighttime, so that's a pretty cool touch. And then going into the brand identity of this vehicle, we have a lot of Jeep markers on here. I don't even know if you can see this, but this is a Jeep Performance LED headlight. So There's Jeep badge number 1. Number 2 is over on the passenger side. So there are 2 Jeep badges on it right away, right up front, because again, this is slightly in an identity crisis, and we'll see more as we go around. I'm coming over here to the bright side of the vehicle to show you these black 22-inch wheels, because we do have the Series 3 Obsidian edition, which blacks out everything. So we get that blacked out front grille, we get all the black accents up front, the piano black lower bumper that runs down the length of the entire vehicle, and then these blacked out 22-inch wheels wrapped in Pirelli Scorpion Verde all-season tires. So they are Pirelli, which is an Italian name, Verde, which is Spanish for green, on a blacked out wheel and tire package. Go figure. But these are 285/45 R22-inch rubber. They are all-season rubber. They definitely speak to the mission of this vehicle, even though it is in the Jeep family of brands, and there is a rock crawl mode on this vehicle. Yeah, these aren't off-road tires. Yeah, you're pretty much going to be doing some soft-roading on this. Looking back behind it, we do have an adjustable air ride suspension. We are lifted all the way up into off-road 2 right now, which, again, we'll talk more about it when we're driving, but is nowhere near as uncomfortable as Off-Road 2 was in the Grand Cherokee. A lot of that has to do with the fact that this is a body on frame. A lot of that has to do with just the way the suspension system works on this one. Taking a look at the broad side of this thing, I'm just a little skeptical about the Wagoneer name and heritage on a vehicle that is so much bigger than the 80s beloved Wagoneer that was made even more popular by This Is Us very recently here. I'd say the Grand Cherokee L is more Wagoneer than the current Wagoneer offerings are, but this is something that has been sorely needed from the third of the big three. Ford has the Expedition and the Navigator with their Lincoln line, and then General Motors is absolutely dominating with their Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, and Escalade lines. So big body on frame 3-row vehicles are hot in America, especially down here in Texas, and Stellantis was sorely needing it. You can get 2 options. The Wagoneer is more the Chevy Tahoe, Ford Expedition competitor, and as I've mentioned many times before, the Grand Wagoneer is the more upscale version, set to go up against the likes of Escalade and Navigator. Me personally, if I were trying to save the Chrysler brand, Chrysler is in dire need of a vehicle, and they are trying to be a premium brand, but they only have one item moving forward, and that is their Pacifica minivan. And if it were me, knowing what I know, and this is just me, I would have made the Wagoneer the Jeep product, and I would have made the Grand Wagoneer equivalent a Chrysler product, and kind of kept those brands separate, focused the Wagoneer more on off-roading, and kept this more to a luxury on-roader. But that's just me. Going more into the identity crisis of this brand, we get these big, bold Grand Wagoneer branding down the doors with the American flag, but here on the door itself, this is unique to this vehicle, a Jeep branded mirror housing. So that is 2 more Jeep logos on each side. So we're up to 4 just on the exterior of this vehicle so far. Big boxy styling. They are very proud of the upright upright B, C, and D pillars in this that do call back the original Wagoneer. Our Obsidian gets the 2-tone paint job with that black roof. You can get a solid roof, but I really like the contrast here. And then blacked out window frames and everything on this one. It really does look nice. And then perhaps the biggest third window on this in the entire segment. We'll talk more about this when we actually get inside, but I'm a big fan of the third row of this vehicle. If you watched my coverage of the Detroit Auto Show, you will know that I ranked this the best third row vehicle in the show, bar none, hands down. It really worked. Coming around back to the back, again, we are told that this is a Grand Wagoneer. So up front, we had the brand name in Wagoneer. Back here, we have the model name in Grand Wagoneer in big, bold 3D letters. Really like how it's catching the light back here. You get a very boxy rear window that some are complaining, especially when it gets really cold and your window fogs up. All of this right here, you can see the window is actually here. All of this just stays black. So in certain conditions, the back of this vehicle kind of looks just a little bit awkward when you can see how much of this back end is actually window versus how much is actually glass. Just an interesting look. I do like the LED center high mounted stop lamp that is integrated behind the glass back there. That's really nice. We do get sequential LED taillights back here. They do blink rather quickly, but it is a nice look. Being that we have the Obsidian edition, we get the blacked out bumper, blacked out badging. You can see we have Quadra-Drive 2 because yes, this is a 4-wheel drive model. And then I do want to call out, there is just a slight pitch to where these letters are on the back, and they've taken that into consideration. They're much thicker up here than they are down at the bottom. That is a really cool look. We do get a trailer hitch that is covered by this center section here and a power lift gate that is hands-free, but I have the vehicle running to show you a few things, so I'm just going to use the traditional power opening hatch button here. And then we get an impressive rear cargo area. Just over 27 cubic feet back here, which is more than the Cadillac Escalade. I will contribute a lot of that to the boxy overall shape of this. The Escalade is pretty boxy back in the back, but this thing really takes that boxy design theme to heart. This thing really is very large when it comes to cargo capacity, and you can see we've got some speakers back here for our Macintosh sound system. I really like how Stellantis puts their hatch close button over there, but we can fold down the rear seats in here. We have a power fold third row seat that is 60-40 split, and you see those headrests drop as the seats go down. And now we have over 70 cubic feet of space. Again, just the overall boxy size, shape, and design of this vehicle really opens up the cargo capacity in this vehicle when you fold those down. I'm going to push my backpack out of the way to show you that we do have some storage underneath the floor here. This is where our roof cross members are. And then we get a flexible cargo shade right here that does pop into these spots right here. So if you have the rear seats up and you want to hide what is underneath the cargo shade from prying eyes, you can absolutely do that here. You also get your jack stand underneath here, but your spare is actually underneath the vehicle down here. Another thing that I want to call out about this, we have this very thickly carpeted floor mat back here that does have a ridge, so stuff won't just go rolling out on you when you open the rear hatch. Somebody really put some thought into that back here, and I really like it. Last thought on this lid cover right here, it is actually hinged. It is not one of those where it's just kind of tucked in with a few tabs. So it really gives us more of a premium trunk-like feel. I'm going to go ahead and put the rear seats back up. You can also, I'm going to go ahead and do it right here, drop down the second row seats from back here so you can really open up the cargo space. But I did want to show you just how much room you could get in here folding the seats down from back in the back. I already showed you that Stellantis puts the button for the rear hatch over there. I am in the max off-road 2 ride height right now. I'm just under 6 foot. I'm 5'10". You can see just how much room I have here. You can program the rear hatch and how much it opens by holding the button here, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a push. It gives you a few beeps to let you know, hey, you might want to get out of the way because that hatch is coming down. All right, gearheads, I have repositioned the vehicle because there are a few things I do want to show you about this vehicle when it comes to comfort and convenience. Now, we do have a proximity key that when you get close to the vehicle will automatically deploy the running boards. I absolutely love that. I'm still in off-road 2 ride height here, which is its maximum setting, and these running boards absolutely come in handy. We also get passive entry here on all 4 doors where you just tap the backs of the door handles and that unlocks them, and then you can lock it back by pushing this little section right here, which again, kind of hit or miss for me. It has not been my favorite, but when you hit it just right, maybe it gives you a honk to lock. Again, works about 25% of the time, not my favorite. And then we get the key fob here. Going with the brand identity, this is very similar to the key we had on the Grand Cherokee. And It just says Grand Wagoneer on it. We get lock, unlock, remote start, hatch release, panic button, and then this button right here, which uses the adaptive suspension to actually lower the vehicle and put it in a more easy to entry exit the vehicle ride height here. So you get a couple flashes of the light both up front and in the back, and then the vehicle starts to lower the front, the back, the front, the back, as it gets into an easier entry exit position. And you can see just how much this vehicle does squat in the grand scheme of things, really making it very easy to get in and out of. And then when it gets to that final resting position, that low riding height, you'll get another confirmation with the headlights and taillights back in the back. And now you can see almost how useless this running board is here with this entry exit ride height, which makes it very easy to get in, climb in, and be like Derek Jeter in your Grand Wagoneer. Why don't you come in here and we'll talk a little bit of the interior before we take this one out on a drive. Before we get too far into it, I do want to show you the door panel and all the controls here on the door. So much like some Mercedes-Benz products, some premium luxury products, your 20-way adjustable driver's seat controls are actually here on the door. No need to bother reaching down here on the side in between the door and the seat, because that is branded Grand Wagoneer. This actually lights up. It's pretty cool. Yeah, no reason to reach down there because all your controls are right here. Again, 20-way adjustable with, it's not lit up right now because the vehicle's not on, 2 position memory. Very nice. And then we've got some additional buttons here we can talk about when we get the vehicle running. Get your mirror controls here, your window controls here, and all 4 windows are express up down. Huge kudos on that, Jeep, Wagoneer, whoever you are. Your window lockout here and lock and unlock, you get that on all 4 doors. That's also a premium touch of what is essentially a chauffeur vehicle, because you actually want to be chauffeured in this vehicle. This is a really nice one. And then we get real metal throughout this vehicle. We have opted on this test vehicle with aluminum accents. This very much reminds me of the Alfa Romeo I was in while in Detroit. It is a very nice, very premium look. We get metallic door handles here as well. And then coming around and looking at the seats themselves, again, 20-way adjustable front seats. Everything from your upper back, lower back, lumbar, your bolsters, everything is very adjustable and customizable here. And we also get those Series 3 badges right up here that make these look very nice. This is Palermo leather. And if you know anything about leather, that may or may not mean something. No, Napa leather is considered one of the premium. Semi-aniline is also a premium leather, but we have Palermo leather here. We have this caramel color. You can also get them in navy with some caramel accents. That would be my choice, but it really does look very nice and very classy in here. We'll go ahead, climb in, and close the door and give this thing a quick engine start right here. Really like how the engine start button is pointed directly at me. It's not hidden. Again, thanks to the width of this vehicle, but we'll go ahead and start it up. Get that Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer splash screen there, but ironically, it does not stay up nearly long enough. We get a 12.3-inch digital information center here. We actually get over 75 inches of screen real estate in this vehicle, all told, and that doesn't even count the rear view camera mirror that we have here, or the digital head-up display. Digital head-up display, I can speak, up there. So over 75 inches, not including some additional display technology, but we've got fully customizable here. I really like how you can do the analog style, but you can hold the OK button and go to a digital style. But my preference is a more traditional, especially because I do it fairly classy here. You can pan through a bunch of different screens here. You can see so far we've put just over 200 miles on it, and we're averaging 13.4 mpg. It has been doing a lot of idling, so take with that a big grain of salt. But you can pull up your maps in here. You can see all your off-road stuff. You can see we're also in our entry exit ride height here, so nothing too crazy right now when it comes to ground clearance. We have our trailer brake controls, we have our radio presets, no stored messages, and a few other screens. We can also pan through here and do that night vision that I was talking about earlier. It takes a little while to start up, but when it does, you can quickly swipe over to it. It does have pedestrian detection, which we had this over Halloween, so it would have been a good vehicle to take out while there are trick-or-treaters out, just to help make sure that you are staying safe and keeping pedestrians around you safe as well. But multiple different things that you can scroll through here, all your driver assistance tech, and back to your digital screen. You can also hit this little button right here and go through the tile screen display. You can see various different things here on this tile screen, but this is where I like to leave it. Again, we have a head-up display up here with your posted speed limit, traffic sign recognition, your current speed, the streets that you are currently driving down. A lot of good information up there, and I really like that Stellantis is now offering head-up display in some of their premium vehicles, as well as these rear view camera mirrors. They were kind of late to the game with both of those options, but it's nice to see that they are adding those to their premium vehicles. I'm going to really try and pull out here and show you the full steering wheel. It is a little bit of a flat bottom. We'll talk more about this interesting design when we're on the road, but just single spoke or dual spoke, depending on how you look at it, overall design. We get all our controls for our driver information system here, all our cruise control with your active driving assist button right there. You can turn that off. And then no paddles on this steering wheel, but you can change your gears there. And then on the back of the steering wheel, we get our radio controls. Again, looking over here to the door, I was going to show you we've got 2-person memory and some more of your adjustments, including some shortcuts to your comfort control. So we have a 10.25-inch comfort control screen down here that does everything from your front HVAC, your seat adjustments, so you can adjust all the bolsters and lumbar, to your massage. I'm going to go ahead and turn mine on with all your different massage modes. Both front seat passengers can have massage, which is really nice. You can actually turn off the seat bottom or the seat back independently of each other. I really like that. Your rear climate controls, because this is a 4-zone climate control system, so I really like that. And you can turn the screen off, but you know, really like that you have just redundancy here when it comes to your screen tech. And if you don't feel like you need that, you can push that button right there and you can get some additional storage. We'll get to that here in just a second, because we have a 12-inch Uconnect 5 system here. Works very well. If you've been in a Uconnect vehicle lately, you'll be very familiar with this. Here we go. I like it that it is a full screen display, and then you can pull down here and get some quick shortcuts. You can just drag these up to this area right up here. You can see we have a shortcut for our 360 cameras, which is very nice. You get a bird's eye, your rear with guidance, and trajectory with your hitch line right there. You can see a wide view, wide front view, narrow front view, and then your hitch guidance view right there. So that'll come in handy if and when we take this trailering. Really like that. And then we also have, they don't call it fam cam here in the Grand Wagoneer, but your family camera monitoring system. This is an infrared camera, so it does work at night. You can zoom in on any seat that you would like, and you can see I did forget to fold that seat up behind me, but you can zoom in anywhere you like over here, including that center console. Just an interesting thing that they didn't option out or work out on this one. This does come with Alexa built in, Wi-Fi hotspots, a few different things that you can drag up there to your shortcut menu. Really like it. You also get redundancy here, so everything that we had in this lower comfort screen down here, we can also access up here on the screen up here. Media controls, CarPlay, vehicle controls up here. So I can fold headrests down from up here. I can deploy the steps when I'm out here. I say they don't call it FamCam, but the software engineers did not get that message. Any of the online marketing does call that FamCam. Again, different ways to get to the same stuff here on the main screen. I just like redundancy. You can go into your vehicle settings, do a lot of stuff there. This does have off-road mode with off-road pages. If I can hit the button correctly here, you can see we have our steering angle, our transfer case. It is a limited slip rear differential, so this is a little misleading when it's saying it's unlocked. You can do your accessory gauges, pitch and roll, which you can put in many different places on this. Selec-Terrain to show exactly what terrain mode you're in here, which we can go ahead and show you. We are in, we have rock, sand, mud, snow, auto, and sport. I'm going to show you all the different animations we get here. So they're just quick, just like that splash screen up front. But again, identity crisis here. Jeep, FCA, both of those apply, but don't apply to this vehicle. But yeah, we're on a track. Here in auto, we're just kind of in Tron, I guess. And then we go to snow, get a quick look at snow here. And then we go into rock mode, or sand mud first, excuse me, and then rock mode. And all of this is also changing our ride height as well. So this has lifted us up into off-road 1. Being in sand mud, we're going to go now to rock, if it will let me. I do believe I have to be in 4-wheel drive low and put it in neutral. We're shifting, there we go. And now I can put it back in park and put it in rock mode. So there we go, there's rock mode. And just all the displays there. Rock mode actually lifts us into off-road 2. Again, I do wish that some of this were a little more intuitive, because it only tells you on the driver information screen here that you had to do something different, which is put it in neutral to get it in 4 low. But me doing this for as long as I have, I know that very well. Then we have our suspension. Again, it shows you your off-road ride heights and what your suspension is doing here. So that's pretty cool. And then we get into apps. So this is perhaps one of the coolest things that we can do here. Some quick access shortcuts, but I'm gonna show you relax mode, which takes advantage of all the screens up front here, including the 10.25-inch passenger screen, which I'm gonna show you here momentarily. I'm gonna actually turn the volume up, because we also get some sound playing with this. But this is the relax mode, and you can see here we are in the topographic, but I'm gonna do fireplace. And now we've got a nice calming fireplace going across 1, 2, and all the way over here. Yes, let's see, turn this guy on. Make sure it is actually on. 3 screens. I can barely see it from my eyeballs. You could probably see it better on camera, but we do have a fireplace screen going over here. So nice warming fireplace up front here. No, it does not pump out hot air. You can do that with the HVAC controls. I'm getting nice cool air out here. Multiple different things here, including aquarium, which kind of looks a little chintzy to me. Aurora, which shows the curvature of the earth across all 3 screens. Again, take you back over here. I can't see it with my eyeballs, but you can see it there on camera. Just emphasizing the overall width of this vehicle once again. So a lot going on here, and now we are in the audio section. I will say that this has the Macintosh sound system in here, 23 speakers. We've got these Macintosh branded tweeters up here. We have lights on the speakers down here. Very cool, very premium sound system that works very well. We've been listening to, if you couldn't tell, XM chill station, which really just gives us a calm, peaceful vibe here. We can also change all our sources. We can actually preview what is being viewed on the back seats, because we do have the 2 10.1-inch screens on the back of the front seats here. And that works in conjunction with the Amazon Fire that is built in, as well as the 10.25-inch screen here, and the built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi on this one. So lots of tech going on in this one. Again, I want to show you what is really cool here. Sorry, I accidentally hit that. We get a row of haptic control buttons here, and just look at the screen animation before this screen actually goes and moves out of place. We get tons of power in this, 2 USB-A and 2 USB-C ports for front seat passengers to connect to the Uconnect system, a rear connection for the rear screens back here, and a passenger HDMI input. So again, you can really do a lot of stuff over on that 10.25-inch screen over there. We do get a cigarette lighter style power outlet right there. We get a Qi wireless charger down here that works fairly well, and then you can close that screen, out of sight, out of mind. I really like that. You can mute the sound system here because hitting the power button just turns the screen off entirely, which is kind of interesting when it comes to all the additional things you can do with this screen. Just interesting that that turns it off instead of muting it like it does in all other automakers. Get a row of physical controls here for your climate. Again, redundancy is very nice. Your auto hold while in traffic, your lane keep, traction control. Again, I'm in rock mode. I'm going to go ahead and take us out of for low and put us back in auto here in just a second. That'll turn traction control back on once we get to it. But let's put us back into auto. There we go. Traction controls back on. This will park itself, your parking sensors with emergency braking, tow haul, and then your passenger screen button here. All of these are haptic buttons, and you can hear it gives a little vibrate when you push them. Kind of seems a little cheap and archaic. It is not my favorite. The buttons here on the door are also haptic, and I don't know, the little vibrate motor in there makes it sound a little bit cheap. I do want to call out before we get too far along, we do have adjustable pedals here, which Holly, I'm sure, will like a whole lot. Your brightness control for your gauges, your electronic parking brake, and over here we do have the trailering package on ours, so there is our trailer brake controller right there. I'm actually going to go ahead and pop over here to show you the passenger screen before I show you more of the center console stuff going on here. All right, over here on the passenger side, again, 10.25-inch passenger information screen here. Again, much like the Grand Cherokee, it's got a lot of glare on it. I do want to show you, this is typically what I see when I look at the screen. They need to figure out how to make this look nice and still have an anti-glare on it, because when it is off, let me go ahead and turn it off here, it just looks like some of the glossy black plastic that is everywhere in this vehicle, especially where your hands lay. I don't like that. So again, we've got aluminum like that Alfa Romeo I was in, but still too much black plastic, unlike the Alfa Romeo I was in. Both of those are in the same family of brands, but turning this back on, all the same information that we got in the Grand Cherokee. But I really like how you can access the cameras from over here as well, including FamCam, where you can actually see what's going on back in the back. So multiple people can help keep an eye on those rear passengers. You also get this mirror up here so you can see their faces from up front. So that's a nice touch. All your controls up here for your massive 3-panel skylight are up here. Unfortunately, that third panel is fully manual, but we have a very large panoramic roof over the front 2 rows here up front. And you can see at 5'10", I still have plenty of room. Underneath this suede line headliner, we do have some speakers up here as well. Again, 23 speakers overall in this. A lot going on here. I'm having my back massaged here. I also have a 2-position memory function over here. So very nice up front. What isn't so nice, especially in a vehicle this big, is some of the storage options. So the glove box barely holds the very large owner's manual here. There's just a little bit of room over here. It is felt lined, and you can see it is damped, but it isn't very large at all whatsoever. And then coming over here, we already showed you the additional storage back behind the screen here, but most of that is dominated by our Qi wireless charger. There is a little bit of additional room down here, but again, that wireless charger really dominates most of the room up there. We get a couple of cup holders underneath here with a vertical slot, again, for some phone storage. I don't know what else that you could put in here, and just an awkward little extra spot here because the vehicle is just so wide. So maybe some trash or coins will end up there. We do get some storage here under this roller panel. We have a USB-A and USB-C port in here. It is felt lined, so if you put stuff in here, it won't rattle. This being real metal, this kit's nice and cool to the touch as well. We get some leather wrapped armrests, and then we get the standard cooler here in this center console. Again, not my favorite because this is much smaller than the center console you'll see back in the back. It is a cool option, literally and figuratively. My hand is very cold right now. You can turn that off with that button right there and store some normal things in there that don't need to be chilled, but it's a nice option. I just don't like that it is the only option up front here. Otherwise, there isn't too much more storage up front here. We get a little in the doors, including a cup holder down here and a little bit of storage in the door handle, but not a lot in the way of storage up front when you think of all the additional technological things that they've added in here. Screen, which is probably taken away from this, Qi wireless charger, which is taken away from there, interesting storage here, and then your cool box underneath. Let's go back and check out the back seat now and see what it looks like in the second row of seats, because this really is a perfect chauffeur's vehicle. All right, coming to the back doors here, again, we get the passive entry, we get the automatic deploying running boards when the door is open, we get sunshades on the back windows, and because they are big square windows, whoops, we get a sunshade that covers most of the rear window. I really like that. More of that real metal, more of that real metal, more of that shiny black plastic with your door locks and your power window controls. The illuminated Macintosh logo on the speakers, very nice all the way around. And then we get some adjustable rear captain's chairs in this one with a full center console. I'm gonna go ahead and pop in back here and sit behind myself at 5'10". You can see I've got plenty of room. I'm gonna go ahead and come around to me here because we do get a rather nice recline that does adjust the seat bottom as we recline, so I can get into a nice comfortable position. Still got plenty of headroom, although the panoramic roof does take away from it just a little bit. Again, I'm 5'10", so if you've got a tall torso, this may be a little bit of a tight fit for you. Coming around to the back of the front seats, we do get 10.1-inch screens back here. You can see the AT&T supplied 4G LTE is not turned on this, but we get Amazon Fire. So if you're familiar with Amazon Fire TV, you get all the stuff there with downloadable apps. We do get map pockets on the backs of both front seats, and again, screens on the backs of both front seats as well. We get some air vents on the back of the center console here. We get USB-A and USB-C power on the back of the center console, as well as a household style outlet right here and another cigarette lighter style outlet over there. This is a 115 volt, 150 watt power outlet. And we get that cigarette style lighter over there. We get some air vents on the B pillar here, so that's a nice touch as well. We get a few different options. Again, my preference would be something ceiling mounted for when you have a rearward facing child seat, because both of these options that we currently have are going to be kind of non-existent when it comes to a rear facing child seat in this. Again, if you want to see what it's like to put this in forward facing, rearward facing, and in the third row, be sure and hit subscribe so that you can see that video when it drops. We get another comfort screen back here, 10.25 inches right here. Again, quad zone climate control, so I can adjust everything. Heated and ventilated seats back here as well, so I can turn those on. I can sync it all so it all goes together, and I can turn the screen off if I just don't want this bright screen shining at me. Couple cup holders, again, phone display here. Much like the front seat, we get a roller shade here, USB-A and USB-C. Tons of power all the way throughout this vehicle. Really like it. And then you can see just how large this center console would be up front if we didn't have that cooler box. This is felt lined. I really like it. It is absolutely massive, and that is not the only storage in this center console, because coming under the screen here we get this massive cave down here that you can store a bunch of stuff in with a rubberized mat down here, so it's not going to make a lot of noise, but the sides and top are hard plastic, so you will get a little bit of noise there. And then these seats do manually slide forward and back, and I can go all the way up to the front seat You can see this isn't the most comfortable for me, but there is a nice cutout on the backs of the seats here. I can get to a comfortable position so that I can negotiate with that third row passenger, which brings us to a third row comfort. Again, at the Detroit Auto Show, I climbed in every 3-row vehicle that they had on the show floor, and I did name this the best third row vehicle on the show floor, mostly because of this feature right here and some other stuff you'll see once I actually climb in the back. So you can see, for me as a father that still uses a child safety seat, this absolutely comes in handy. You can leave that child seat in place and still climb into the back of the vehicle, which is a nice touch. And you can see we've got plenty of room to actually climb in back here. I'm gonna go ahead and close the door because we've got some lawn mowers going on outside. We have a 60-40 split bench, power folding, power reclining third row seat here, but for child seats, unfortunately, only the driver's side gets lower latches. We do get top tethers all the way across, but you're gonna be using the seatbelt method if you install a child seat either in the center or on the passenger side. It is wide enough for 3 across. This is a very wide vehicle, so that's not a problem. And again, I mentioned earlier, you can power deploy those headrests to get them out of the view of the driver if you aren't using the rear view camera mirror from the infotainment screen up front. We get some power outlets back here, USB-A, USB-C. Again, I told you it is a power recline. It doesn't go back that far, but it's a nice touch. We also get some rear AC vents, which I really like, and a very non-claustrophobic rear window in this. Unfortunately, there are no shades in the vehicle for these rear windows, so that would have been a nice addition, especially on a hot East Texas day. We're getting into colder fall months here, so it's not so much an issue right now, but that would have been a nice touch to have some sunshades in the rear windows, but this really isn't a claustrophobic back seat at all. In fact, my seating position is practically the same as the front 2 rows. I am sitting up because we have an independent rear suspension underneath us. So the floor is very low, the seat is very tall, and I feel like I'm sitting in any other seat in this vehicle. Again, we do have that power recline and fold option here, so you can get into a comfortable position. And you can see as we look up, we actually have a manual cover for our third glass pane of glass up above us. So again, not claustrophobic, not dark back here in the third row, and it really is wide enough for 3 across. This seat is up a little bit higher, but even sitting behind Tucker in his rearmost position here, you can see I could ride across the state of Texas, across the country in this vehicle. It is a very comfortable and a very easy vehicle to put actual adults in all 3 rows, and that includes getting in and out even when a child seat is in place. That is a lot, I know, for all of the interior appointments on this, but there's just that much to cover on this. Now let's actually get behind the wheel and see how this big Escalade competitor drives in a city environment. All right, getting in and driving this big beast around, we do have a fully metallic gear selector knob here that a lot of attention and detail went into the knurling of this gear selector knob. In fact, there's a lot of history with this vehicle and this channel because the first ever event I was ever invited to by a manufacturer was a regional showing of this vehicle in Austin, Texas. It was the very early concept of the Grand Wagoneer that looked very similar to this one. So it's like coming full circle getting into this one. I like it a whole lot. It is a very astounding vehicle that has made me feel, well, like Derek Jeter for the week. You know, if you've been watching the World Series, which just wrapped up, Wagoneer has gone very heavy in the advertising of this vehicle with MLB superstar Derek Jeter, the legendary shortstop of the Yankees. But getting this out in traffic, living my daily life with it, picking Tucker up from school, dropping him off at school, going to the in-laws about an hour away from us. Everything has been done in a supreme comfort and luxury. This really is a superb vehicle when you get in it and experience it. This really feels like an interior first vehicle, from those massive rear windows and the third pane in the skylight that makes the back row a completely habitable place to be for 3 adults, to the massaging, very comfortable seats up front here, to the big square windows that just make this very easy to see out of no matter where I am. I even have a little convex mirror on both of my very large rear view mirrors. So visibility is excellent in this. Power delivery in this. Let's talk about this. Again, I've picked Tucker up from school. I've driven around town. I've taken it out on the highway. This is an absolutely smooth powertrain. If this is the future of the Stellantis brand, if the Hemi is truly dead, I am sad for Hellcat applications, but for normal driving applications, this Hurricane Inline 6, especially in this high output version here with the 510 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque, made it to this 8-speed automatic transmission. It just works very well. It has not really left me frustrated or angry at powertrain choices. It hasn't left me upset that we're missing 2 cylinders. It doesn't sound terrible because inline 6 engines typically sound fairly good. It doesn't sound weak or wimpy like some other twin turbo V6s on the market. It actually has a fairly good sound, and the power delivery is just smooth. With the exception of, there were a couple cool mornings, and I'm using cool relatively. They were cold. We're in East Texas. It was cold. We were hovering close to freezing, and the 8-speed kind of felt a little herky-jerky when I first got in the vehicle, but once everything warmed up, we were back to our normal smooth delivery. So just something to note, in colder climates, I experienced that on a couple different occasions. So just an interesting note that a cold transmission isn't as smooth and buttery as it is here, with it being 68 degrees outside, as the temperature displays says right now. But all around, very good power delivery on this vehicle. It is more than enough to get you up to speed and cruising on at highway speeds. It is very comfortable at highway speeds. This adaptable suspension will drop you down into aero ride height, which is the second lowest, with entry exit being the lowest. So you get a nice comfortable ride down the highway, and then you can bump it up if you actually want to take this thing off-road. Very, very nice all the way around. This does have engine start-stop technology, so the engine is actually off right now, but I suspect with the AC running at full blast, that won't last long. I can defeat that with a little button right here, or I can just take my foot off the brake just a little bit to fire that engine back up. It's not like a earth-shaking event when the engine does come back on, like in some smaller, lighter weight vehicles. This is a big, heavy vehicle, but it doesn't drive like one. Again, going back to picking Tucker up at school, the steering in this is light for a vehicle of this size. Piloting it around, even though it looks like a giant refrigerator, is not a difficult task at all. It is very easy to maneuver at high speeds, low speeds, whatever speeds. This thing moves around very nicely and rides very well. Very smooth power delivery. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the active drive assist on this, because it is a hands-on driving assisted feature, which again takes us to the unique design of the steering wheel and the flat bottom with this interesting grip down here. This is really how you are expected to cruise in this vehicle, because the very bottom of the steering wheel is a third grip that is really meant for resting your hand when cruising down the highway with active drive assist turned on. This will help keep you in the lane. It'll help you follow curves. But I have noticed on some curvy East Texas back roads that I frequently got a curve too sharp, maintain control of the vehicle warning. Another interesting thing about this hands-on driver assistance feature on the Grand Wagoneer, I don't know how well you can see on the head-up display there, we have that yellow steering wheel, but as soon as I put my hand On the steering wheel, it turns green to notify that yes, it's actually going to be working. Take my hand off, turns yellow, put my hand back on in any capacity whatsoever, and that thing turns green. So it knows when you are and when you aren't touching it, which is a pretty cool system in its own right. But I really wish Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer, Jeep offered a hands-free system to rival that of Cadillac and their Super Cruise. But we do get some green lighting on the exterior of our 12-inch gauge cluster up here. It's all very nice. It works very well. I absolutely feel like I'm piloting a luxury yacht in this thing. Again, I feel like Derek Jeter. I feel like I just ooze money, which you might need for this Series 3 Obsidian 4x4 edition of the Grand Wagoneer. This thing, as this 2023 model sits, is just over $114,000, which is about double what our Grand Cherokee was that we had just a couple weeks ago. This thing ain't cheap, and perhaps again plays into that identity crisis that this vehicle suffers from. Wagoneer is the premium sub-brand of Jeep, and despite all the Jeep exterior logos on this and even the interior logos on the software of this vehicle, it is technically not a Jeep, but it is a Jeep. You go figure it out. You can access it on jeep.com, but also on Wagoneer.com. And if you go to any third-party website that asks for make and model of the vehicle, you're gonna have to select Jeep and Wagoneer as your model, or Grand Wagoneer as your model. Still working to separate Wagoneer out into its own thing. And Jeep dealerships around the country are branching out from the Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram brands that they are tied to. Again, very interesting time to be in Stellantis, but Jeep is trying to be positioned as the premium global brand for Stellantis. Okay, so this thing does have a sport mode, so I have to try out 0 to 60, right? Even though this is a huge boat of a vehicle. Yeah, so that automatically drops you down into aero. Gives you your most aerodynamic ride height, changes your 8-speed mapping, and we're gonna floor it and drop the brake. Oh my goodness. Oh, this thing will scoot. And 60. I mean, for a flippin' big 3-row, comfortable for 7 adults SUV, 510 horsepower, 500 pound-feet of torque, 8-speed auto, this thing will move. And so that brings me to, is this thing really worth it? Is it a true Escalade fighter? Can it really make Cadillac shake in its boots? And I think, yeah, it is a solid option in the big 3-row competition space. The 3rd row of seats is perhaps the biggest selling point. If you ever intend on taking more than 4 adults with you, this is the vehicle that you're going to want. That is a usable back seat. The power delivery and everything from this Hurricane engine is spot on. The ride is very comfortable. This really is a good vehicle all the way around, and would make for a very comfortable vehicle for those looking for it. And if you take advantage of the tax discounts, this thing does weigh over 6,000 pounds, so you could write it all off as a business expense. That is about it for my solo time here in the Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer Series 3 Obsidian. If you want to see more from us, hit that subscribe button down below, ring the bell so you are notified every time a new video drops from us. Go find us on all social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube. Everything is at GT Garage Talk, or you can go to gtgaragetalk.com. But as for me, from behind the wheel of my Derek Jeter land yacht, until next time, gearheads, bye. It just makes... You did not...